going back to this story now. So the story is that when we're born, we're like little gods. Okay,
which is
we're
the purple, which is the
right.
royalty, and you treat your babies like they're. I mean, they.
Well, and they treat themselves. I
Right.
mean, until a baby is 2 years old,
Yes.
they think they're gods because everything they want, they
Man.
yeah, they have these servants that take care of it, and
Sometimes it lasts into the teens.
right,
That causes a problem with they search for the pearl.
right.
So,
Go find
But-
the pearl, beat it.
Yeah, that's right. And so then parents develop them, but eventually we kick them out of the
and
nest.
that's where the took off the robe, the purple mantle, which was what matched with my stature, which was okay when you're little.
Yeah,
You get to wear the purple robe of royalty.
right,
Joe has some serious psychosis. You keep trying to wear that robe.
Yeah.
Get out of it.
right. And so then you have to go out and find your own way in the world, and then you get confused. And man, humans
Did that
these
describe
days.
the 20s though? I mean,
Pardon?
That kind of described being your 20s and you're distracted with friends and
Well,
fitting in.
you may never get out of it.
Yeah,
In fact,
that's
okay.
I think you can find a lot earlier though too, that in your death or the ending, I feel like sort of like in your aha moments or whatever. Like I mean, I know like in this poem they were talking about like him not wanting to follow the ways of the people or all be all like them. In my own experience, like I always felt like where do I belong? What am I good at? Like, am I supposed to be this or do this and everything? And I was always searching, and I never really felt like I was like really good at anything. And then in college, I was reading my philosophy book, and I ran across synoptic philosophy, which is like, it's basically like you see the bigger picture, and you want to know like a little bit about a lot instead of like focusing on like. I couldn't pick a degree. I didn't know what degree. I didn't know what subject. I didn't know what sport. Like I'd never
Right.
found a place. But when I was reading that, I found my place, and my place was not having a place. So it was
Right.
like I gained it all, but I lost it at the same time. It was like but it was such like a freeing, liberating aha moment. It was
Right.
like sort of like the alpha and the omega, or the birth and death. You know what I mean? Like
Sure, that is it.
so, like I think that's like
Rod Serling moment.
Well, and so, I think of the NFL games and the fact that we've talked about that the only people that are having an authentic experience are the guys that are down on the field. I mean, there's a new advertisement on television, you've probably seen it, where you are the professional basketball watcher. Okay, like that's a thing.
I get a letter
You know.
for that. Get a letter
Makes you feel
jacket.
really involved when you have some.
Yeah. So whatever and I still don't know what they're selling, but they've done it with.
Other than insults.
Because I get so freaked out by they have one for football and they have one for basketball, and they're both black people, and one is a relatively heavy duty black man, and one is an overweight black woman, and and they show her on this pedestal, and she is a professional basketball watcher. And I go, huh?
Stuck there, you can't even.
So I have no idea what they're selling.
Ask Debbie to watch for it. Report back.
Well, she's been commenting on it too, and I go, oh my God, what are they selling these people? And so the point is that okay, I guess we're babysitting people that don't want to grow up, basically. Okay, and honestly, this has been going on since Roman times, since the Colosseum, right? Where governments have understood, what do you do with all that testosterone that's running around in the streets? If you don't give them sporting events, then they're going to be cooking up rebellion, right? Or coming up with something else to do. It's mainly men, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at me. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean that's my interpretation. So
I'm not a spectator.
right, and so we've all been.
I played sports, but I couldn't. I never liked watching them. I only
Yeah.
went to ball games because girls were there.
Well, that's good, but the point about it
Who cares
is
about
that
them? They get plenty of attention.
you have to get beyond the watcher stage, don't you? I mean, you have to.
Get in the game, right?
Yeah, you have to get in the game.
Really,
And pardon?
to understand it, really.
Well, to not only understand it, but also
Not
to
to be
understand
bored by
what
it.
you should be doing, right? And maybe that game isn't actually for you. I mean, that's what the voice is. The voice is this opportunity to become a well-known singer. Let's not say famous, but well-known singer. And obviously the people that get on the program itself are at least getting a videotape with the judges saying nice things about their singing, even if they lose, right? And so, okay, they've got that souvenir, but the reality is that the same people who were famous at the beginning are still the same ones, and so how do people break through to become, the really famous? There's a second tier, which is cruise ships. Okay, thank God for cruise ships. There's 80 cruise ships running around the Caribbean, and they have song and dance programs every night, and they're great. Honestly, they're great. But those people aren't making a hell of a lot of money who are doing that. They're not the Christina Aguilera of the world.
Yeah, but a lot of them are just traveling and having fun.
Yeah, they're having fun.
Yeah, one of
And
my
they're doing what they love, so.
And they're doing what they love.
Yeah.
But then the question is, what is the meaning of your life? Is that the meaning of your life? Is the meaning of your life that you were an entertainer on the, Adventure of the Seas? Okay, that was the meaning of my life. I was
the meaning of the life was all the boyfriends or girlfriends you had while you were doing it.
right. Well, I mean,
Not a meeting.
no, and look,
That would mean more to me than dancing.
the meaning.
And that's where they grew, and they, and then they went home, popped a beer, and watched TV.
Yeah.
And become
There's the real
professional
meaning of
basketball
life.
watcher.
Well, I mean,
What is the meaning of life? Yeah.
if we look at Kelly's life, for example, the meaning of her life might be that she's helping other people get through some difficult mental situations, which maybe some spark will make them some amazing thing someday. They might win the Nobel Prize for X, Y, or Z. And they
But what if
did
they
that
don't?
because of,
Line, right?
yeah, they did that because of Kelly's
Oh yes.
intervention, or a teacher. Why did a certain teacher influence you? That teacher, the meaning of that teacher's life is actually giving you the opportunity to take what they did and carry it further, whatever it is. And we all have teachers like that.
That makes me think of my friend in Colorado, who's very much into the hippie lifestyle, and he's really done nothing. But his brother has a PhD in biomechanics. He was at Virginia Tech or somewhere down there, and he came to me. He says, it just amazes me. My brother's never worked a day in his life. He owns 5 houses, and he lives really well.
Wait, the hippie guy?
Yeah. He's really good at.
And he's in Colorado, so he's good in the marijuana business.
Yeah, no, he doesn't do that.
Real estate.
The only job he ever had was delivering pizzas for a while,
Uh-huh.
But he
and
owns
he did that so he could get Social Security, and that's the only time he ever worked. And he's managed to pull along, one way or the other, just finagling here and there. He goes out. He has a routine every day. He goes and shoots pool. He meets these guys. They do this. They, you know, he's just got a pointless routine by most people's standards, but that's his
And-
meaning in life.
Works for him, right?
Yeah,
Well, it works for him. Okay, and so
that's why I'm wondering with you.
Maybe-
adding all of
maybe- no,
these,
no, but maybe-
you know, prize winning.
right, but maybe the pearl for him is understanding that he could do that.
My characterization from him, I can't remember it exactly, but it had something to do with, in the sense of being like a Buddha. He just sort of, he just sort of seems totally content within himself, and he's always been very self-centered. I mean, he'll walk through a crowd of people, and he'd just do anything, and he acts like those people don't exist. He just,
But he's having fun. Maybe he's teaching other people to have fun. And
he's
playing
just
their
doing
life.
what he's doing. You
Yeah.
know?
We're
It's
too
true,
serious,
that's
they need
striving.
that.
You know,
He's
sometimes
just so
it's
focused in on
voting
whatever it is he's
against-
doing.
Yeah, but
And if you ease into it.
okay, but Buddhism is the middle way, and the thing that keeps troubling me, I keep interrupting my meditation group. I don't think I may be persona non. I may become persona non grata there because.
What did you do?
Well, because what I point out is that a perfect Buddha nature is a person who is on the self with the capital S end of the spectrum of this ego and archetype spectrum. So they're on the self end of the spectrum, and if you're totally out there, then you're a monk and you're sitting in a cave and people are bringing you food and maybe you're teaching them something that you figured out in your meditation, whatever it is. But if we, in the fullness of time now, after 2,500 years and 2,500 years in the West, we look at how people in Tibet are living or in India are living with Hinduism versus how Westerners are living, how Americans are living. And I have to say, you know, there has to be a middle ground. Okay, it's all well and good to be able to zone out, and I can do it. I can zone out in meditation and just be gone, and I know what it's like to do that. And I've been doing it for 25 years, but I also live a life that has an ego involved with it too, and there has to be a middle ground between the two things, because if everybody becomes like the Buddha nature, then you have billions of people living on $1 a day or $2 a day.
Have a lot less war.
What about your wife and kids? If you
Pardon?
did that every day. What about your wife and kids?
Well, they don't have wives and kids
Yeah.
typically.
Well, I meant if you were like that, you know, every day you're zooming out and you're.
Well, I wouldn't be able to afford a wife and kids.
Right.
Nobody would be able to. And so you have to have an ego. Okay, so you have to, it's this axis of ego and self, right? And Christ supposedly is on the ego end, and Buddha is supposedly on the self end. Well, I definitely see it with the self. I'm starting to see what they're saying with Christ, and what Dr. Jung was saying about Christ was that only this one person could do what he did. It wasn't there for everyone. Okay, it was this one person saw himself literally as the Son of God and never relented in that one bit all the way to his death on the cross. And so that was his individuation. He was returning to the mother and the father. And I mean, in the same sense as the story, I mean, he came down, he did his thing. He found his pearl, which the meaning of his life was to teach early Jews, or not early Jews, but mid-level time Jews, to teach them that God could be good, and that it, you know, that he believed that he was so committed to that he was prepared to go back to his father. Okay, which is what this is talking about, going back to the father, right?
Or the parents. Yeah.
Or going back to the parents. And so, and he did that perfectly. He would have been totally divine, but for the fact that he said, Father, why have you forsaken me on the cross? That was his one break of the mask, right? But otherwise, he was the Son of God. He saw himself as that, and he was that. And so that's what he was meant to be. And there weren't a lot of people running around in, first century Palestine thinking that they were literally the Son of God, I presume. I mean, unless they were insane. And we still have a few of those.
It's a recurring theme.
Right. And so was it Joseph Campbell? Somebody said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become what you were really intended to be, or something like that. And how do you know what you were intended to be? Well, you just know you're going to do it, whatever it is. And
Well,
so
it's whatever you're intended to be within the environment,
within your
milieu
environment.
that you're.
Right, but okay, so here's my
Where the seed
criticism.
falls.
My criticism of the Jungians
On a rock,
is
on a shade.
a lot more people, and it's also my criticism of the Buddhists, by the way, which is a lot more people would understand what's going on if there were hooks between Persephone and Demeter and the life I have to live here on the ground. Okay, that's from the Jungian side. From the Buddhist side, it's why are we following teachings that were developed 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago?